So this is learning worklet. Okay, so these are all the kind of under learning worklets kind of menu items, I can say, which are accessible for all the employees. So on their learning area, if they wanted to view their learning history, so they can get into learning history and view their completions. And if they wanted to view any kind of courses, they can get into browse learning area, and they can find list of courses here. And similarly, if for any of the courses that they have started, which are in progress, which are in not started status, and if they wanted to generate a transcript for that one, they have all these are in a delivered setups. So how Workday has given a kind of transcript kind of setup, they can view all those things and all. So they can get it here, they can export that, they can generate a PDF of the transcript and all. That is how the kind of learning worklet is designed for all the employees, which can be accessible for all the learners with all the learning content. So now to enable this one, what I've done is I just so this is where I've used implementers here, and I got that learning worklet enabled on the landing page, and also the other domain that I've used is learning access. This is the main domain which gives permissions to all the learning areas to access courses and all. So implementer, learning administrator, contingent, all employees who will have access to learning, and this gives access to the dashboard as well. Now, based on this setup that I've made here, if I go to dashboard,
What is this? A dashboard? Home dashboard?
yeah, yeah. So we have attached this learning worklet to home dashboard on landing page. Whatever you wanted to populate on your landing page, that has to be in home dashboard. Okay. So if you see here, learning I've attached, and based on the domain security that I've assigned, all those security groups have pre-populated here. The moment I select learning, those will be pre-populated. Okay, based on the domain security setup. So all the securities are there. People who are assigned with the security group, this learning worklet will be available to them. Okay,
Okay.
that's how you enable your learning and learning admin worklets to all intended team members. Now we'll see something on business process. Okay, so
Okay.
business process is nothing but a kind of sequence of tasks which employee will be performing. Okay, let's say let's say enroll into the course. Okay.
And these are business processes which are provided by Workday only, right? We can't create our own business process.
So you cannot create any business process on your own, but you can enhance or you can add
Yeah.
the steps that you
Mm.
wanted to have to any of the business process that Workday has provided. But you
Yeah.
cannot create new business process right from the scratch.
Right.
So there are certain business process, that Workday has provided for learning area. The mainly used one is mass enroll is one thing, which will be used for enrolling, and drop learning enrollment, which will, based on the say setup that you'll be making here, you'll be giving a kind of flexibility for an employee to drop the enrollment, if they wanted to de-enroll from the course. So all these things, we'll be seeing as part of core configurations. So what kind of setup that needs to be made for this drop learning enrollment? What kind of reasons that we need to give for giving a kind of flexibility for an employee while dropping from the enrollment? What are the reasons that employee can choose to drop from the enrollment? All those things, we'll be seeing in configurations. That now, we'll focus on business process. What are the
Mm.
available business process? How you control, how you actually give flexibility for employees or for business users to perform certain tasks in Workday Learning. So based on business process security policy, you will be giving that kind of access to employee. So I said, right, domain is nothing but which will allow you to see and access the data in Workday. But business
Mm-hmm.
process security policy, which will allow you to perform the transaction and to view, to approve that one, to resign that one if you are a manager, to approve your team members enrollment, or to deny that one, to send back that one. All this kind of transactions you will be able to perform through business process security policy setup.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if someone asks you, can you differentiate between BPV security policy and domain security policy? What would be your straightforward answer?
Security policy is only a little bit confusing for me.
Okay, so
Um,
let me again, reframe this one. So we
yeah.
have two security policies. One is BP security policy, and the other one is domain security policy. Domain security
Mm-hmm.
policy we have seen so far. So we have accessed multiple domains and assigned security groups. That, for example, learning access domain we have accessed, and we have given permissions to employees, contingent workers,
Mm-hmm.
implementers, and learning admins. So we have given learning access to all the security groups. Now, people who are associated with this security group can view something related to learning, can view learning
Mm-hmm.
worklet, can earlier,
Yeah.
we have seen that learning worklet was not populating on our dashboard screen, right? On home dashboard, we were not
Mm-hmm.
able to see that learning worklet because that domain permissions were not enabled to learning administrators or implementers or employees, anything. Okay, they were not able
Yeah.
to see that learning worklet. So we have went into that particular domain, given that access to intended security groups, and then when we activated policies, we were able to see that learning worklet populated on our landing page. Similarly, similarly, BP security policy. BP security policy, if you are actually creating Workday account, okay. So if you are creating a Workday account, who has to create that Workday account? Okay. So if you are an
Mm-hmm.
employee, you shouldn't have access to create a Workday account. Security administrators should have access to create a Workday account. Such kind of things, will be, for example, I'll just show.
Create Workday
Okay.
account.
So these are kind of one business process. So this is just an example I'm giving,
Mm-hmm.
which can relate to learning business process. So create Workday account is nothing but creating Workday account. Who has to create a
Mm-hmm.
Workday account? You'll be defining that permissions here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you go to BP
Got it.
security policy, BP policy,
Mm-hmm.
who can start the business process? who can create the business process, who can create the
Mm,
business process in the sense who can start or initiate the transaction. So you'll be giving
mm.
all the security groups here. Okay, these are
Okay.
implementer can create a security group.
Mm,
You can see some meaning. Uh, some dummy security groups also you'll be seeing, because this is a training tenant, but in
mm.
regular tenant, you'll be seeing actual security groups here. Okay, security partner, security admin will be having access to create a Workday account. So such way you can define any the security policy of that particular business process transaction in the BGP policy. Now here, so people who are associated with the security group should be able to create Workday account. Okay, and
Mm, mm.
similarly, if we write any condition, okay, if we write
Okay.
any condition that once Workday account is created, it has to go for manager for approval. Such kind of condition you would have written, no? So who has to approve that one? So all the security groups,
Mm.
security administrator has to approve that one. All the security
Okay.
groups, whatever are listed, can have access to approve that particular transaction. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So how did you go to this page?
So just to access that particular BP and go
Okay.
to related actions of
Okay. Mhm.
go to the
Okay.
related actions of that particular BP,
Okay.
BP policy.
Okay. BP policy. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Mm, I
so
got
you
that.
can see a lot of business process transactions. Who has to cancel any kind of
Right. Right.
action that employee, or whichever security that you will be configuring, who will be having permissions to cancel that particular transaction. So you can give
Right.
those security groups here, and resign who needs to send back that
Mm,
particular transaction. So you'll give all the list of security groups, and similarly
mm,
reassigning, and all those things. The type of security that you'll be,
mm,
based on the security setup that you'll be making. When the transaction is initiated, based on the security group that you have assigned here, it will be going in that flow actually. So based on the
okay.
steps that you would have defined in the business process, based on the approval chain that you would have defined in the business process, the list of
Mm,
security groups will be populated in the approval list, and who can take action, or who can
mm,
cancel the transaction, who can resign the transaction, or who can approve that one.
mm, 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 mm. Got it
Based on
now.
this
Yeah.
setup, you'll be making. So this is one of the example, that I've taken, since create Workday account is something, which will be more easily understandable kind of task, that I took. And similarly, when you
Yeah.
relate this to Workday learning kind of business process.
Mm,
If you see mass enroll, okay,
mm,
mass enroll. So what steps are there once enrollment is initiated? Action enroll in content related process.
mm,
Something, action that has to be taken, but no approvers or no additional steps are configured. But if you go to the security of this BP, so here you can control here who has to enroll into this thing.
mm,
Who has to perform this kind of mass enrollment? Okay. So
mm,
there are no security groups, but we'll see how we can manage this thing. So who has to perform this mass enrollment? Basically,
mm,
learning administrator will be having access to perform
mm,
mass enrollment of employees into this thing.
mm, mm,
And who has to approve this thing? Managers will obviously have access to approve, and even in certain cases, even learning administrator will be having control to approve any of the task related to learning enrollments.
Mm.
If you wanted to send back or if you wanted if you wanted to cancel these things, you can actually who will be having the permissions to cancel this one, learning admin. So these are the things here that I was saying, based on your customer security requirement or business requirement, you will be setting up the security at BP level.
Mm.
So now I've given access to learning administrator to actually perform mass enrollment kind of task. Who
Mm.
can enroll? Basically, managers also will be having access.
Mm.
So I've actually assigned a learning administrator who will be actually having permissions to enroll anyone into the particular course. Once we make any security changes at BP level, we need to activate that security policy.
Mm. I find it challenging to know what tasks to enter or what should be entered in the search box. So that is what I feel the challenge, because
Um,
there is no menu items which you can select from, right? We
so
need to,
you
yeah.
So one thing is you need to know the task, or you need to know what you need to do. So these are the two things that you need to know. So if you are not aware of
No.
the task, what you need to perform, sitemap is one thing that is going to help you.
Mm.
Just get into any of your non-production environment and
Mm.
ask your security administrator to give access to that sitemap, so that you can
Mm.
download that all the list of items, a list of tasks
Mm.
in learning, in a kind of spreadsheet, and probably you can
Mm.
actually access them
Okay.
in any of your non-production, until you get familiar with the task related. Since
Right.
you're new to Workday learning, so probably you'll be, but just it's just if you wanted to create example I'm saying, if you
Yeah.
wanted to create, if you are a Workday developer, or no, if you wanted to create
Mm.
a report, just
Yeah.
enter the task called create report. If you wanted to create integration is the task. If you wanted to delete a report, delete report is the task. If you wanted to create a calculated field, create calc field is
Mm.
the task. So like that,
Okay.
just basic things, whatever you wanted to do, just enter that in search bar. Those related items will be populated on your landing page. Let's say if you
Right.
wanted
Right.
to now in learning, if you wanted to create course, okay.
Mm. So, for example, I want to edit a location of a person, for example.
So you cannot edit a location of the person. You can edit a location, but if you wanted to edit a location of a person, you wanted to go into the employee. You wanted to edit. You can edit employee contact information, and there you can change the location of that employee directly. If you wanted to edit the location, your view location is one thing. You can access the task called view location. Enter the location. Location will be edited. Let's say India. Let's say Hyderabad. Would be one location. If you wanted to actually just correct the spelling of Hyderabad, you can
Mm.
just view location Hyderabad, just correct that one. But if you wanted to
Mm.
correct the location of Amit, okay, you need to actually go to Amit's profile, Amit's contact information, edit Amit's contact information, and there you can change whatever contact information of Amit that you wanted to update.
Mm-hmm. Contact me. Okay. Okay. Like that. Mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it.
So
Now I understood BP security policy and domain
mm,
security policy. So that is the place where we define as to who all should get access to what.
yes. Yes. Who can control what? Who can access what? Who can see what?
Okay.
Domain security policy says who can see what, who can view what, and
Domains.
who can modify what. So that also,
Right.
we'll be giving access to modify also to certain areas of Workday for employees or for any kind of for developers or any kind of support people. We'll be giving some kind of permissions to modify. Let's say if support person of end user support person is there, so he need to access all the requests that is getting from an employee. Um, as an example, what you asked, if employee is having a kind of address change kind of requirement, so that he'll be
Mm,
reaching out to that support person. That support person will need to have specific permissions to perform that task, right? So what we'll be
mm,
giving, we'll be giving user level permissions and modify access to that particular support person. So whatever, employee will be reaching out, to edit the profile information and all that, the support person will be taking care.
mm. Got it.
Okay. And similarly BP. So if any employee is actually any employee or any kind of business process transaction that any person is performing in Workday, be in the background, whatever security that you would have defined that particular BP, that will be actually controlling or allowing any person who is doing that business process transaction to proceed further.
Mm,
Okay, based on the conditions, I think we will be doing some task also. So we'll be doing while we are creating courses, probably we'll create one course with cost associated course, and we'll define one business process rule that if course is cost associated, it has to go for a kind of manager approval, and we'll define that kind of setup,
yeah.
in a kind of configuration thing. So you'll see
Right.
how that process will actually work when we
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
configuration.
Okay. Perfect.
So that thing, probably will be doing, we'll be doing. I think today, we'll be closing all, high level description of components, including the business process, and probably, tomorrow from tomorrow, we'll be starting the core configurations. Uh, dropping enrollment and learning validation things and business process tasks, all those things, actual configuration part, which are typically used in Workday learning. We'll be actually starting the configurations in our next session. Today, with this today's session, till today's session, what you will be getting a kind of brief understanding is how you can actually control domains, how you can actually control business process. If there is any kind of controlling enhancement that you'll be getting, to perform any of the Workday learning BP. So you how to identify those BP, how to enhance that one, and how you can add any kind of additional steps to that particular business process. So we'll be seeing, till today's session, you will be getting a kind of high level understanding on the component areas. But from our next session, configuration areas, we'll be focusing. After the configurations, we'll be getting into reporting. After reporting, we'll be actually seeing a kind of performing kind of EAB task, to upload or dump data into
Mm,
Workday kind of things. We'll be seeing. With that, I think, we should be covering everything in terms of learning.
yeah. I also need to understand like calculated fields, what all we can do, how we can do
Calculated
calculated
field
fields.
is not part of learning actually. That is part of the technical area where in reporting, it comes actually.
Hmm.
Calculated
Yeah.
fields are, people who are associated with the reporting administrator or a development background. So will be those
Mm,
people, will be performing, the report creations and integration creations, calc field creations. Those are a little technical, I can say. So your role
Because
is related to learning, or your role is related to any kind of technical thing.
yeah, it's mixture of both. So I am in the DevOps team.
Okay, so what you'll be, what kind of responsibilities that you'll be having? Is it restricted to learning, or across Workday that you will be actually looking? What kind of, so that I'll be able
Yeah.
to let you know what kind
Right
of
now
content.
I'm only a part of learning. Okay.
Okay, okay,
So I'll be making sure that if there's any new feature comes in, what all improvements can be done and how we
okay,
have to configure. We have to do the proof of concept for all the features and what all new things we can bring in those things.
okay.
Testing, create a custom reports.
hmm So custom reports you'll be creating.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So what kind of did you get a chance to create any reports so far, or what
I
kind
have
of
edited
reports?
the edited
Okay.
edited a couple of custom reports. Uh,
Related learning,
Learning, yes.
specific to learning. Okay. Okay. Mm.
Yeah, edited a couple
Then
of
I think
custom reports.
probably it would be helpful to actually have some understanding of calculus also. Basically,
Yeah,
people who are managing reports, who will be actually creating integrations, for doing some kind of programming work, will
mm,
be actually focusing on calculus, because calculus will reduce the efforts of writing a program. And
mm,
if you're actually if you wanted to tweak any data that is sitting in Workday,
mm,
calculus will allow you to tweak the data. If you wanted to, let's say Amit is there, okay, when Amit is there, you wanted to actually populate a Workday trainer kind of term, that you wanted to populate. If employee is Amit, then it has to return in a report that Workday SME kind of word, that has to return in a report. So you'll define a logic in calculated field, the kind of calculated
yeah,
field function you're using. You'll be defining that logic, and you'll be tweaking that data. So because Amit is sitting in Workday, so based on the Workday
mm,
data, that you're defining some logic here to populate some
mm,
other data when that condition is true. Kind of
yeah,
setup, you'll
yeah,
be making in calculated fields actually.
yeah. For example, we have to create an alert, we have to create a notification. So those kind of
Tho-
things I would like to.
those are not calculated fields, those are separate tasks actually. So if you
Mm.
wanted to create any notification, you need to actually get into PP. If you wanted to create alert, what alert that you wanted to create, who are the intended users,
So
to
for
whom you wanted.
alert, creating alert, we need a note. We need a report to be created first, right?
Yes, yes. So who are all the intended users? You wanted to
Mm,
send alert.
mm,
So if you wanted to
mm,
send to new hires, if you wanted to send to specific group of
yeah,
employees, if you wanted to, send to only managers, such kind of information that you need to have, that kind of, result that you need to get as part of report creation, and then, configure alert, so that will be sending a kind of alert notification to those recipients.
right, right, yeah.
So probably alert also I'll take it. Generally, alert is not part of this thing. That's a kind of regular thing. But probably when we are actually going in configuration, just remind me this thing. I'll show you how. I'll just create one simple report, and
Mm,
we'll see how we can attach that report to alert. And
mm,
so probably we'll configure your Gmail thing to the alert. We'll see how
mm.
alert will be triggered to that Gmail account.
Okay. Now, if I, for example, if I want to change the output of a report,
Mm-hmm.
can we do it? Meaning, now browse learning catalog is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Browse
Yeah.
learning course
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
So I want right now when we.
Those are actually standard reports. Okay. So you don't have
Mm,
control, to change the output. What you need to do is you need to copy that report to custom reports. Then you can enhance whatever you wanted to have. So if you go to the
right.
task called copy standard report
Right.
to custom report.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I took standard report. Now
Mm,
I'm copying this thing. Okay.
right. Right.
So these are this is basically kind of search report. Okay, so it
Mm-hmm.
will be listing all the search results that you enter. Okay, now if
Right.
you wanted to enhance, add a filter. Okay,
Mm.
so at topic level, if you wanted to do any kind of searching of the courses, you can actually go here. and add change your output of the report.
Hmm.
Basically, there are no topics created still. That way, you can actually change your output of your report. Not only this report, any of the report.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You can
Okay.
add, or you can in search report you'll be having some facelift options and all, so you can actually change how your data will be popular. You cannot directly update any standard report, but you
Hmm.
need to copy that standard report to custom report and make changes, and accordingly
Hmm.
place this the custom report and replace this custom report with standard one, so that your changes will become effective whatever you are expecting as a kind of output.
Hmm.
Got it?
Yeah. If I want to change the output format of the report, then can we do it?
When you say format, what is that? Generally,
Uh, Now, for
you know.
example, this course learning content is there, na? It
Mhm.
is it shows you one course below the other course, right? When you have a browse learning
Okay, okay.
content. Instead of that, can we have one next to each other in a tile based?
No, 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 no,
No.
no, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
So in Workday, we have types of reports. So browse learning
Mm-hmm.
content is a kind of search report. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
if you go for search report creation, so whatever configurations, that you have, so in the search bar, whatever search criteria that you enter and click on search button, all those search results will be populated. And if you wanted to filter those results, left side, you'll be having some kind of checkboxes and all. So those
Mm-hmm.
kind of checkboxes, populating of those checkboxes, you'll have a control. So to filter the data, let's say, in the search bar, you've entered one course name, and hundreds of courses have populated. Now, if you go to the left side and if you click on any checkbox, specific to compliance courses kind of checkbox, you would have selected. So when you select that compliance courses, all the courses related to compliance group, will be filtered and those results will be populated.